One of the most competitive midterm Senate races this year will be in a state Democrats have spent millions trying to flip in the past. That state is Maine, where Democrats are looking to unseat incumbent Republican Senator Susan Collins, who is running for a sixth term. Our next guest, Governor Janet Mills, is one of the Democrats running in the primary scheduled for June 9th. She will face off against several opponents, including progressive candidate Graham Platner, who just this week received a key endorsement from Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. Maine Governor Janet Mills joins us now. Governor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If you do win this race, as I'm sure you are aware, you will be the oldest freshman senator in history at 79 years old. Democratic voters are still scarred somewhat by the lack of transparency over Biden's health in 2024. When you have been asked to release your medical records, your campaign said you would only release them when, quote, Graham Platner and Susan Collins agree to do the same, unquote. But this is your biggest political liability. Why not put voters' minds at ease, release your records, and prove that you are fit to serve for the long haul?
Well, look, I've been governor for almost 7.5 years. I think people know that I'm fit to serve, and I'm aggressively doing two jobs right now, serving as governor and running a very aggressive campaign for the United States Senate, because it is time we defeated Susan Collins. Listen, age is always an issue. It should be a consideration, but I'm also running for one term and one term only, because I want to hit the ground running, take my experience and commitment and courage to the United States Senate and get the job done. I can stand up to Trump. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. My record speaks for itself. I think that when people question my age, they should question other people's age as well. But, well, you know, my medical records, I can assure you, my doctor says I'm fit to serve and in fine shape. I would share my lipid profile with anybody who wants to say what their cholesterol is. But honestly, why would I put my lipid profile up on the internet if the other two candidates don't do it as well? Fair is fair. Nobody asked Angus King to do that last year. Nobody's asking Bernie Sanders to do that. So listen, age is a consideration. It's one reason that I'm running for one term and one term only. I want to hit the ground running, as I said. And, you know, we've got to change the course of this country, and it means getting rid of the Republican majority control of the House, getting rid of the Republican majority control of the U.S. Senate, and standing up to the Republican in the White House right now, who's taking a wrecking ball to our country, to our Constitution, to our very democracy, threatening to federalize our elections. We in Maine value our elections, our right to vote extraordinarily highly, and I will fight to protect that, among many other things, in the United States Senate. I have the experience to do this. Yes.
Sorry, Governor. I just want to step in for 1 second and press you on something you said. You said that, you know, asking candidates questions about their health. Well, a lot of journalists and a lot of voters did that the summer of 2024, and you defended Biden after his disastrous debate. You said, quote, over the next several months, and especially in the coming days, I look forward to the president demonstrating to the American people the same heart, determination, and vigor he brought to our conversation this evening. But then in a recent interview with The Atlantic, you said that you felt that he should drop out and encouraged it privately, but you still gave that statement. And you said that his decision to run again, quote, that was sad. So why should voters trust your judgment now when you had one opinion privately that was very impactful on the fate of our country in the grand scheme of things? And then now, when you're vouching for your own health, tell us why we should trust you.
Listen, I wasn't going to kick the guy when he's down, honestly. But we had a meeting with the president just a few weeks or so after the horrible debate. And I was one of the people who spoke up and said, you know, all of the governors, Democratic governors, called for this meeting in order to try to dissuade him from running. That didn't work at that time. Eventually, he did make the right decision. But, you know, we all tried in our own way to convince him that he wasn't up for it. I am up for this Senate race in every way possible, and I'm determined to help change the course of our country, because the times are way too urgent, too dangerous for me not to do this thing. I can't not do this. And I have the physical and mental ability to do it, of course. And I have the experience and the day-to-day goings on, governing this state of Maine, dealing with the legislature, being in the public eye, walking the streets of downtowns across the state of Maine and talking to people every day. I'm not hiding. I am out there demonstrating my capacity, and no one's questioning it.
Governor, you recently put out your first negative ad against Graham Platner, your opponent, and the ad focuses on posts that Platner made on Reddit in the early 2010s with very concerning comments about rape and women. And the ad features women in Maine reacting to these comments. And I want to play that ad and then ask you a question.
Okay.
Did you know Graham Platner wrote that women worried about rape need to, quote,
not get so up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to.
It's disgusting. Platner wrote to avoid rape, women should, quote,
act like an adult for sake.
Graham Platner, seriously.
We blame the victim. That's a horrible thing to say.
Disqualifying.
The ad shares important quotes that many women, not just in Maine, but around the country, have been reacting to, processing through the course of this campaign. And of course, people have asked your opponent about them. We did a bit of digging, and some local reporters in Maine have as well, and noticed that some of the women featured, several of them were Democratic operatives. And I wanted to ask you about that, because there are so many women who are concerned about these issues. Why you featured people like longtime operatives and you know, party actors rather than everyday women in Maine speaking out about these important issues?
Look, I have fought for women's rights my entire life. My entire career has been about women's rights, among many other things. But those issues are personal to me. And I've knocked down barriers, being the first woman district attorney in the Northeast United States, being the first woman attorney general in Maine, first woman governor. But that's not what it's about. I've used my platform, however, and as a survivor of domestic violence myself, I've taken positions to help other women through tough crises in their lives too. Maine voters, though, I think they have the right to understand the choices. They deserve to know what people have said and what people have done, the choice in front of them, the contrast between myself and Mr. Platner. They deserve to know what my opponent has said and then deleted right before he decided to run for election for the Senate. And you know that the Republicans are going to spend millions of dollars. They've already committed $40-something million towards TV time this fall. And it's extremely important to know what people's election vulnerabilities are. And he has many of them. The point is, they will make mincemeat of him. They will spend millions and millions of dollars making sure that every voter knows what he has said on this issue and many other issues, I'm sure. They won't hold back. And these were not all Democratic operatives, by the way. But regardless of that, it's a question of electability. That's my point in those ads.
Governor, do you believe that Graham Platner is a flawed man or a flawed candidate?
I think there are liabilities. He has liabilities that would make him a flawed candidate, make it very difficult for him to win the general election against Susan Collins. Susan Collins cannot be dismissed as an easy one to beat. She has survived many tough campaigns, but this is the first time in putting me up against her will be the first time we put somebody up who is tested, who has won 2 statewide elections, statewide primaries, statewide general elections. I had a 7-way primary 8 years ago. I had a 4-way general election. I took on Paul LePage 4 years ago and beat him by 13 points. I've done this. And I have a record of delivering progress for Maine people as governor and as attorney general. And I have stood up to Donald Trump, and I'll do it again in the United States Senate.
Why then do you think the polling right now is not reflecting that despite all that work that you have done for the state, that Graham Platner is still in many polls ahead?
I think the polls generally show this to be a very competitive race. If you read like Charlie Cook's column this week, it's a very tight race, a competitive race. And I'm up for it. And I'm happy to go toe-to-toe with Graham Platner, as I will go toe-to-toe with Susan Collins as well in the fall, because I can deliver the way other candidates have not done so. We've put untested people up against her before, and it hasn't worked. Graham Platner is an untested person without a record of accomplishments for Maine people that I have delivering progress for Maine people.